I had a client message me last week, pretty frustrated, saying that it feels like she's made no changes in the last 2 months. So what I did is I pulled up her stats. She was down over 2 kilograms. She was lifting heavier than she'd ever lifted, and her body shape had visibly changed. She just couldn't see any of it because she's so harsh on herself, like a lot of people are. And she was only focusing on one number, right? So if you've ever felt like weight loss is completely stalled, even though you're doing everything you are told to do, then stay with me, because I think I know exactly what's going on and what's happening. And it's probably not what you think, right? That was a client of mine called Claire. She was tracking, she was training 4 times a week and increased it up from 2. And from where she was sitting, nothing was happening. And that is an incredibly demoralizing and frustrating place to be, doing all the work, seemingly seeing no results. And a lot of people essentially get told to just trust the process with no explanation of what the process is actually doing to their body, right? So here's what I want to explain. It's actually what is going on for a huge number of people in exactly the same spot as Claire was. So if you're strength training while you're in a calorie deficit, you're not just losing fat. You're also building muscle at the same time, because that's going to change the way your physique looks outwardly, not just get smaller. And the scale can't tell the difference between the two, right? It just gives you one combined number. So if you lose, say, 1.5 kilos of fat and gain a 0.5 kilo of muscle, the scale only tells you you've lost 1 kilogram, right? So it shows a kg loss. But in reality, 2 kg of tissue has changed. 1.5 kg of fat lost and 0.5 kg of muscle gained. That is called recomposition. And it's normal, it's good, and it's invisible on the scale, but it's what we're working towards, right? And I show Claire something that I do with a lot of clients. It's 2 photos, the same person, exactly the same weight, but in the second photo, there is a visible difference around glutes, hips, chest, back, face, right? Even though the number on the scale is completely the same, the body is completely different. If you only ever look at the scale, you'll miss the change every single time. You'll conclude that the plan isn't working when actually it's working exactly as intended, right? So the scale isn't super reliable here. So what should you be tracking alongside it? The 3 things to track, right, are photos taken the same way, same lighting, roughly once a month, not once a week, because you won't see any differences, right? Measurements, so I want you to weigh yourself daily across the week and then take the average of those, because your weight will fluctuate depending on how much water you've got in, etc. Therefore, performance in the gym, right? If the weight on the bar is going up, that's solid evidence that your body is changing regardless of what the scale is saying that morning. There's also a second thing that quietly stalls people, and it's what I call hidden calories. So it's the oil in the pan, it's the dressing on the salad, it's the ketchup, it's the extra splash of milk in your 3 coffees a day. None of that actually feels like food in the way that a meal does, so people don't track it. But actually it can add up to like 300-400 calories a day with nobody noticing. That is the difference between a genuine deficit and a plan that looks correct on paper, but actually isn't in practice. And that's where you could be not losing that weight, right? But I want to be fair, because not everybody watching this is in a recomposition phase. Some of you genuinely might be in a plateau. So how do you actually tell the difference between what we've spoken about and a genuine plateau? So a true plateau means weeks of flat progress against a deficit you've audited, photos you've taken that aren't changing, no measurements are changing, and performance in the gym has flatlined too, not just the scale. So if all 3 of those are stuck, that is a real plateau. And if it genuinely is a plateau, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to just cut calories further, but that is the natural instinct, right? But it's always the wrong move, because it just adds up to more fatigue, more risk of the whole thing falling through and it becoming unsustainable, so you just sack it off, right? The better first thing is actually smarter than a lot of people think. It's tightening up the tracking accuracy for 2 weeks. It's adding a bit more daily movement, getting a few more steps, or a very, very modest calorie adjustment so you don't crash. So if you are mid-plateau right now, feeling exactly like Claire did, before you conclude that the plan hasn't actually worked, go back and check these 3 things: the photo, the measurements consistently, the weight on the bar. More often than people expect, the plan didn't fail. You just aren't looking at the parts of it that will actually work.